A river in Ohio caught fire 13 times. Not a small fire, a fire hot enough to set a railroad bridge alight. Beneath the farmland of western Ohio, buried under hundreds of feet of glacial sediment, sits an ancient coral reef that formed when this state was a tropical sea sitting near the equator. And Ohio's state flag is the only flag in the entire United States that is not a rectangle. Ohio has a reputation for being the state you drive through on the way somewhere else. These 22 facts suggest you should probably stop the car. Subscribe to Wild States Facts before we start. Fact 1. Ohio's flag is officially called a burgee, a swallowtail pennant with a distinctive pointed cutout on the right side. It is the only non-rectangular state flag in the country. Designed in 1902, the shape was inspired by the guidons carried by Ohio cavalry units during the Civil War. Folding it correctly requires a precise 17-step procedure, the same number as the stars and stripes combined on the flag itself. Fact 2. Beneath the cornfields and subdivisions of western Ohio, buried under hundreds of feet of glacial sediment, lies a massive ancient coral reef called the Silurian Reef Complex, built by marine organisms roughly 420 million years ago when Ohio sat beneath a warm, shallow tropical sea near the equator. The same reef that built this bedrock also left behind thick deposits of limestone and dolomite that shaped everything from Ohio's soil chemistry to its groundwater system. Ohio was the Caribbean, and it still is geologically. Fact 3. When that tropical sea eventually evaporated, it left behind a massive layer of rock salt, halite, now buried far beneath the region. Under the floor of Lake Erie, stretching for miles beneath the water, is one of the largest operating salt mines in North America. The Cargill salt mine is accessed from a shaft on the Cleveland shoreline, descends 1,700 feet below the lake surface, and opens into caverns 30 feet tall and 60 feet wide. Workers drive vehicles through tunnels under a great lake. The salt they extract ends up on winter roads across the Midwest every year. Fact 4. The Cuyahoga River flowing through Cleveland caught fire 13 times between 1868 and 1969. By the mid-20th century, it carried so much industrial waste that it was essentially a slow-moving channel of flammable liquid. The 1969 fire, which set a railroad bridge alight, became the galvanizing symbol that directly inspired the Clean Water Act of 1972. Today, salmon run in the Cuyahoga through downtown Cleveland. It is one of the more remarkable environmental recoveries in American history. Fact 5. Lake Erie, the shallowest of the 5 Great Lakes at an average depth of 62 feet, has sunk more ships than any other Great Lake. Shallow water means storms can build massive waves in an almost impossibly short time, with almost no warning. More than 1,000 ships have gone down in Lake Erie throughout recorded history, many of them perfectly preserved by the cold, dark water at the bottom, a nautical graveyard disguised behind cheerful beach towns and ice cream stands. Fact 6. The western basin of Lake Erie near Toledo is in places only 8 to 13 feet deep, shallow enough that in cold winters the entire basin freezes solid. Not skim ice, drive a truck across ice. For decades, residents drove cars to the Lake Erie Islands across the frozen surface before reliable ferry service made it unnecessary. Every winter, ice fishing villages of dozens of temporary huts appear on the western basin, communities sitting on what is technically a lake. Fact 7. Ohio has 2 completely different geological personalities divided by an invisible line running roughly north to south through the middle of the state. The western half was flattened by continental glaciers into pancake-flat till plains. The eastern half, never reached by the ice, kept its ancient wrinkled topography of steep valleys, narrow ridges, and deep hollows that feel more like West Virginia than the Ohio most people picture. Drive east from Columbus toward Zanesville, and you can feel the land physically change under the wheels. Fact 8. In the sandstone hill country of southeastern Ohio, the Hocking Hills region contains geological formations unique to this part of the world. The Blackhand sandstone, deposited by ancient river deltas during the Mississippian period, has been carved by water into massive recess caves, overhanging cliff faces and cathedral-like chambers. Ash Cave, Old Man's Cave, Cedar Falls, all of it carved from the same sandstone layer over thousands of years of differential erosion. It looks more like the Colorado Plateau than anything you expect to find in the Midwest. Fact 9. In Adams County in southern Ohio, there is a 1,300-foot-long earthwork shaped like an uncoiling serpent, Serpent Mound, the largest surviving serpent effigy in the world. Its coils align with the summer solstice sunset and the winter solstice sunrise. It was built with extraordinary astronomical precision. It was also built to be seen from above, in an era when its builders had no way to see it from above. And it sits on top of a meteor impact crater, a roughly 8-mile wide circular geological anomaly caused by an impact somewhere between 200 and 300 million years ago. The crater and the serpent are in the same place. Whether the builders knew what the strange circular ridge beneath them was, nobody knows. Fact 10. Along the bedrock of northern Ohio shale formations, paleontologists have found the remains of Dunkleosteus, a 20-foot-long armored fish with a bite force stronger than a Tyrannosaurus rex, swimming in that same ancient tropical sea that built the coral reef. Trilobites, brachiopods, and crinoids are embedded in road cuts across the state. Ohio is packed with sea monster fossils, and most people walk past them without noticing. Fact 11. The Seismic zone in western Ohio is one of the more seismically active areas in the eastern United States, having produced a magnitude 4.5 earthquake in 1937 and hundreds of smaller events since. Ohio also sits in geological proximity to the New Madrid seismic zone, the same fault system that in 1811 and 1812 produced earthquakes powerful enough to temporarily reverse the flow of the Mississippi River and ring church bells in Boston. Ohio is not earthquake country the way California is, but the ground has moved here before, and the fault systems that caused it have not gone anywhere. Fact 12. In September 1813, the waters just off South Bass Island in the western Lake Erie Basin were the site of the Battle of Lake Erie, one of the most strategically decisive naval battles in American history. Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry's victory gave the United States control of the entire Great Lakes frontier during the War of 1812. The shallow waters, island chains, and specific wind patterns of the western Erie Basin directly shaped how the battle was fought and won. Today, the island is famous for its frozen drinks. Both reputations are accurate. Fact 13. The Great Black Swamp once stretched 120 miles long and 40 miles wide across the entire northwestern corner of Ohio, a dense, mosquito-ridden, virtually impassable wetland that slowed westward settlement for decades. It was not drained until the late 1800s through one of the largest tile drainage projects in American history. It is entirely gone now, replaced by some of the most productive farmland in the state. The soil above the old swamp floor is extraordinarily rich. The swamp lost. The farmers won. The land remembers. Fact 14. The Dayton flood of March 1913 killed over 360 people in hours when simultaneous rivers throughout the Miami Valley overwhelmed their banks after 4 days of extraordinary rainfall on a saturated snowpack. 12 feet of water stood in downtown Dayton streets. What followed was one of the most ambitious acts of geographical engineering in American history. Engineers redesigned the entire hydrology of the Miami Valley. 5 massive dry dams, restructured riverbeds, realigned river channels. The Miami Valley has not experienced a catastrophic flood since. The landscape around Dayton today is not entirely natural. It was rebuilt by grief and engineering. Fact 15. The Wright brothers chose to do most of their serious flight testing not at Kitty Hawk, but at Huffman Prairie, just east of Dayton, Ohio, specifically because the flat to gently rolling terrain of the Miami Valley, combined with the wind channeling effects of the Great Miami River Valley, produced consistent, predictable wind conditions they could rely on. The geography of southwestern Ohio did not just witness the birth of controlled powered flight, it enabled it. Fact 16. Ohio's northern border with Michigan exists because of one of the stranger political fights in American history. Two competing surveys in the 1830s produced two different boundary lines, and the 5 miles between them contained the future site of Toledo. Ohio and Michigan both mobilized militias. One Ohioan was stabbed with a penknife. Michigan's governor was arrested. Congress intervened, gave Ohio the Toledo Strip, and compensated Michigan with the Upper Peninsula. Michigan was furious until they found billions of dollars worth of copper and iron ore up there. Ohio got Toledo. Fact 22, and the one that ties this whole list together. Ohio's geological story runs from a tropical coral sea 420 million years ago to a burning river in 1969 to an engineered valley that no longer floods. The state that looks flat from the highway has a meteor crater in its south, sea monster fossils in its shale, an ancient reef under its fields, and a continental divide running through its suburbs. Ohio is not the middle of nowhere. It is the middle of everything, and the geography has been proving that for 420 million years. That is 22 facts that prove Ohio is a lot stranger than the state you drive through. If one of these changed how you see it, tell me in the comments. We read every single one. And if wild, real geography is your thing, subscribe to Wild States Facts, where I am covering every state, one wild fact at a time. See you in the next one.